Red Bull just revealed something so big, it could decide the championship before the first lights go out in Australia. Days before the season opener, Verstappen received a major Ford-powered RB22 upgrade package, and the numbers are staggering. Over 2,000 laps completed in testing. 0 major mechanical failures. 4 tenths per lap faster than Ferrari in race simulations. 12 degrees cooler engine temperatures. More than 340 kilometers per hour without drag reduction system. And that was before the Australian Grand Prix upgrade package was added. New blown diffuser evolution. Completely redesigned front wing. Refined Ford hybrid deployment. Sharper rotation. Stronger traction. Half a second per lap potentially unlocked. Half a second. In modern Formula 1, that is not an improvement. That is domination. And here is the part nobody saw coming. Under the new generation regulations, energy management defines everything, and Red Bull may already be ahead of the curve. If these upgrades perform the way the data suggests, Melbourne might not be a battle. It might be a statement. Subscribe now, because what we are about to break down could reveal why the paddock has gone very, very quiet. Now let's break down why the paddock reaction has been so serious. Because before the Australian upgrades were even fitted, the foundation already looked dominant. In Bahrain testing, Red Bull completed over 2,000 laps. That is not just preparation. That is validation. 0 major mechanical failures. No dramatic stoppages. No visible reliability panic. In a brand new regulatory cycle, that matters more than raw speed. While other teams were chasing peak qualifying runs, Red Bull focused on race simulations. Long stints. Heavy fuel. Controlled engine modes. And here is where things get uncomfortable for their rivals. Telemetry leaks suggested Verstappen was running conservative power maps while still setting purple mini-sectors in the technical middle sector. Conservative, meaning performance was still being held back. Some insiders estimate there was up to 8 tenths still hidden in certain phases of those runs. 8 tenths. That is not fine-tuning. That is a safety margin. But the real signal was degradation. Across long race simulations, the RB22 showed almost flat tire drop-off. Lap after lap. Minimal fall away. That changes everything strategically. Because when your tires hold performance longer, you dictate the tempo. You stretch stints. You force rivals into undercuts. You control track position. And Melbourne rewards track position more than almost any circuit on the calendar. Now add the Ford factor. Engine temperatures reportedly ran 12 degrees cooler than competitors during testing. 12 degrees. That is thermal headroom. Headroom means sustained hybrid deployment. No clipping late in the straight. No sudden drop in electrical boost when defending or attacking. In testing, the RB22 reached over 340 km per hour without drag reduction system. That is not just straight-line speed. That is energy efficiency under the new generation rules. And this is where Verstappen's adaptation becomes critical. The 2026 cars demand precision. They punish overdriving. They reward controlled throttle input and intelligent deployment management. Some drivers are still adjusting to that rhythm. Verstappen appears already comfortable. Already calibrated. Already shaping the car around his natural style. That combination is dangerous. Because a stable platform plus a fully adapted driver equals consistency. And consistency over a full race distance wins championships. So before we even talk about the Australian upgrade package, understand this. Red Bull did not arrive at race 1 searching for balance. They arrived with a stable, efficient, reliable base. Which means everything coming next is not a repair. It is an amplification. And if this was them holding back in testing, what happens when they finally show everything in Melbourne? Now we arrive at the part that truly stunned people inside the paddock. Because Red Bull did not just confirm upgrades. They confirmed integration. Spec 1.1 is not a single component change. It is a coordinated evolution. Let us start at the rear. The blown diffuser concept has been refined again. Deeper undercut. More aggressive airflow channeling. Hot air from the Ford power unit is being redirected to energize the diffuser. That increases rear downforce without increasing drag. In simple terms, more grip without sacrificing straight-line speed. Under the new generation regulations, that balance is everything. Because drag penalties are harsher. Energy deployment windows are tighter. If you can gain rear stability without paying the drag cost, you unlock performance others cannot easily copy. Then comes the front wing. A completely revised mainplane geometry. More camber. More low-speed load. This directly addresses Verstappen's feedback about awkward balance in tight corners. And here is why that matters so much in Melbourne. Albert Park demands confidence in slow entries. If the front does not respond instantly, you lose rotation. If you lose rotation, you overheat the rear tires on exit. If you overheat the rear tires, long run pace collapses. Red Bull has targeted that exact chain reaction. Now layer in the diffuser and rear crash structure extension. Subtle changes. But they improve airflow expansion on corner exit. More traction. Earlier throttle application. And that connects directly to the Ford Stage 2 engine mapping. Reduced turbo lag. Cleaner torque delivery. No clipping down long straights. Under 2026 energy regulations, deployment timing is decisive. If your torque arrives instantly and consistently, you defend better. You attack better. You manage tires better. When you stack the side pod evolution, front wing revision, diffuser refinement, and Ford mapping upgrade together, the estimated total gain approaches half a second per lap. Half a second. Before race 1. And remember, this is layered on top of a car that already showed dominant long-run pace in testing. That is why teams are not reacting loudly. They are calculating quietly. Because what Red Bull revealed is not a gamble. It is a system. Aerodynamics feeding stability. Stability feeding traction. Traction feeding deployment. Deployment feeding race control. Now imagine Sunday. Verstappen launches cleanly. The revised front end gives him precise rotation into turn 1. The rear remains planted through the flowing middle sector. The Ford power unit deploys smoothly down the straight. No overheating spike. No sudden fade. Just controlled pace. And once Red Bull controls the rhythm of a race, they rarely surrender it. We are days away from the first Grand Prix of the season. The new era is beginning. And if these upgrades perform exactly as revealed, Australia will not simply show who is fast. It will show who understood this generation first. And that is what has left Formula One speechless. But here is where the story becomes even more unsettling for the rest of the grid. Because what Red Bull has built is not just faster. It is adaptable. And adaptability under the 2026 regulations is everything. These new generation cars are far more sensitive to energy deployment timing. They demand precision in throttle control. They punish instability in slow corners. They expose any weakness in cooling efficiency. Red Bull appears to have addressed all of it at once. Think about Verstappen's role in this. This is not simply a driver receiving upgrades. This is a driver shaping development. In testing, he mentioned balance improvements, but sensitivity in the tires during longer runs. That feedback directly influenced the revised front wing geometry. Sharper rotation. More predictable turn-in. Less sliding on entry. Less sliding means less surface overheating. Less overheating means stronger race pace over distance. And Verstappen's driving style fits perfectly into this new philosophy. He thrives on front-end precision. He prefers a responsive nose. With the updated main plane, the RB22 gives him exactly that. Now consider the cooling advantage again. 12 degrees cooler in testing. That is not just efficiency. That is margin. Margin allows engineers to push hybrid deployment harder without fear. Margin allows flexibility in hotter conditions later in the season. Margin means performance that does not collapse under pressure. Under the new regulations, thermal control is no longer secondary. It is decisive. And Ford appears to have delivered exactly what Red Bull needed. Now let us imagine the race rhythm in Melbourne. Verstappen exits the opening corners cleanly. The rear stability from the blown diffuser keeps the car planted through the high-speed transitions. The improved traction from the diffuser extension allows earlier throttle application onto the straights. The Stage 2 mapping delivers instant torque. Lap after lap, the gap stabilizes. Not dramatic. Not chaotic. Just controlled. And that is when doubt begins to spread among rivals. Because when you cannot identify a clear weakness in the car ahead, strategy becomes reactive. Engineers start gambling on undercuts. Drivers push harder to compensate. Mistakes increase. Meanwhile, the RB22 continues operating within a safe thermal window, within a predictable tire window, within a stable aerodynamic window. This is what leaves teams speechless. Not a flashy innovation. Not a radical design shock. But a complete system functioning smoothly at race 1. And here is the branch that matters most long term. If the estimated half-second per lap gain holds true, then Red Bull begins the season with validated correlation. When correlation between simulation and track is perfect, development accelerates. Upgrades arrive faster. Confidence increases. The performance ceiling rises. That is how dominance builds quietly. Not through dramatic breakthroughs. Through relentless refinement. We are only days away from lights out in Australia. The first corner will be chaotic. The first stint will reveal everything. If the RB22 delivers what Red Bull has revealed, Melbourne will not just open the championship. It will send a message. A message that the new generation may already belong to Verstappen. And the real question, as the lights prepare to go out, is this. Did Red Bull just solve the 2026 puzzle before anyone else even understood it? Now we reach the point where everything connects. Because if Australia confirms what Red Bull has revealed, this will not feel like a normal season opener. It will feel like confirmation. Confirmation that the RB22 is not just quick. It is complete. Look at the structure of what they have built. A platform that already proved its reliability with over 2,000 laps in testing. A power unit operating significantly cooler than rivals. Race simulations showing a clear long-run advantage. Then layered on top of that, a refined aerodynamic package tailored specifically to Melbourne. Deeper sidepod undercuts feeding the diffuser. A revised front wing giving Verstappen sharper entry precision. A diffuser extension improving traction on exit. A Stage 2 Ford mapping reducing turbo lag and eliminating clipping. Each upgrade alone is impressive. Together, they create momentum. And momentum at the start of a new regulatory era is everything. Because once a team validates its concept at race 1, development becomes faster. Confidence increases. Risk tolerance rises. Rivals begin reacting instead of innovating. Now imagine the psychological effect if Verstappen dominates in Melbourne. Not with chaos. Not with safety cars deciding the outcome. But with controlled pace. Stable tire management. Consistent deployment. That kind of victory does something dangerous. It signals headroom. It tells the grid that Red Bull may not even be at maximum performance yet. And that is what leaves teams speechless. Because you can fight raw speed. You can challenge aggressive setups. But how do you fight a car that is balanced, efficient, reliable, and driven by someone already fully adapted to the new generation? Verstappen has not looked uncomfortable in this era. He has not looked like he is learning. He has looked precise, measured, calibrated. When a driver of that level feels at one with the platform, performance becomes repeatable. Repeatable performance wins championships. And here is the deeper implication. The cooling advantage from Ford is scalable. Hotter races later in the calendar will amplify thermal stress for everyone. If Red Bull truly has thermal headroom, that advantage compounds over time. Which means Australia might only reveal the beginning of the gap. We are days away from lights out. The first corner will be tense. The first laps will define track position. But if the RB22 performs exactly as revealed, the Australian Grand Prix will not just show who is fast. It will show who is prepared. And the uncomfortable truth for the rest of Formula One is this. If Red Bull solved the balance between aerodynamics, energy deployment, cooling efficiency, and driver adaptation before race 1, then the championship fight may already be leaning in one direction. The only remaining question is whether anyone can shift that balance back before it becomes untouchable.